Alright, boss. It's time for the second ODI. हम भी प्रीव्यू करने आ चुके हैं. I know there's the Olympics going on. In fact, एक या ढाई, डेढ़ आंख तो मेरी वहीं पे चले कि बॉस इंडिया कब गोल मारेगी. Anyways, we'll have to come back to cricket because this is cricket.com. Somesh, of course, joining us along with Nikhil भाई. यार पहला ODI तो देखा, इंडिया का भी, श्रीलंका के अगेंस्ट वो सीरीज का भी. काफी मजा तो आया. I'll be honest with you. Like always, Indian men's team के लिए कुछ खास support तो है नहीं. It was great fun watching the game just as is. But Nikhil bhai, you must be happy given how much you love the format as is.
Bilkul, and India have also scored. So that is something that we should be happy about. So yes, and long live ODI cricket. I know Somesh has his own reservations, but mainly ODI cricket always going to be second best. Best, of course, is just the simple reason is it offers you so much that a T20 only teases you with. So there are a lot of skills that are involved in ODI cricket. And even if it means needing 1 from 14 and a guy just sits down कि भाई मैं तो जय माता दी करेगा भाई मतलब the way Arshdeep sat down unforgettable but of course not his job but ठीक है I'll take it in the forms of format अच्छा जा रहा है ये सब बाद में संभाल लेंगे.
Yeah, fair enough. And Somesh, since you weren't a part of the first ODI's review, what were your thoughts on it? Especially because a lot of people were trying to blame Arshdeep ki yaar usko kyun slog karna tha 1 of 14, but the problem was elsewhere, right?
Of course, I mean it's too harsh. ऑप्टिकली लगता है यार कि एक रन तो बना ही सकते हो बट इट्स नॉट हिज जॉब टू स्कोर दैट रन एनीवे. मतलब पूरी बैटिंग पड़ी थी यार, मतलब बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज थे करने के एंड होता है, इट्स ओके. आई मीन ये सब ओडीआईज में लोड ले का उतना कोई रीजन है नहीं. आई मीन द इंडिया कुड हैव बीन अ लॉट मोर क्लिनिकल इफ हैड दे वांटेड टू, बट उससे होता क्या? देयर वाज नो नीड टू बोल गिल. वो वहां के रन सेव हो सकते थे, इतना एक्सपेरिमेंट करने की जरूरत नहीं थी. बैटिंग में भी प्रॉब्ली पीपल कुड हैव बीन अ लिटिल मोर सेल्फिश. मतलब ऐसे रोहित भी और टिक के खेल सकता था, इतना तेज खेलने की जरूरत नहीं है. बट पॉइंट वो नहीं है ना, यू वोंट लर्न दैट वे. सो इट वाज अ गुड गेम. A few people did not grab an opportunity. See, I'm okay with Kohli, KL sort of not delivering because भाई बहुत टाइम बाद आ रहे हैं. Everyone will be scratchy. You can't. I mean, these guys are not machines. No one is. But I mean, I was a tad disappointed in Washington Sundar, to be honest, because he has been playing cricket for this month. I know it was a golden opportunity for him to sort of become a hero and show that you can actually think of him in ODIs on the basis of his batting as well. But it's okay. It was just the first game. Actually, India were on the verge of defeat, so they avoided defeat. That's also a victory in itself.
Fair enough. And personally, even I've not been the biggest fan of Washi there, but I did like the call that they made of promoting Washington Sundar up to number 4 just to see how that goes. Sure, it might not have paid off, but those are the kind of experiments you would want to see Team India make, in such random, irrelevant bilateral series. Something we've also been talking about, ki you should not be playing these tours for results. Ye series jeet ke, we have plenty of पेटीएम ट्रॉफीज इन कैबिनेट, वो है काफी. अभी अगले 10 साल का कोटा सब इन लोगों ने खत्म कर दिया. अभी वर्ल्ड कप चाहिए अपने को, सो इट्स फाइन. And what's also interesting is, Nikhil bhai, like, sure, you like ODI cricket, but for people like us, people like me who keep saying, "Kya chal kya raha hai?" It's an in-between format and all of that. What do you make of the fact that Team India itself, like, you usually get an idea of how cricket is progressing based on BCCI kahan apna thoda matlab paisa laga raha hai. And if you look at it, between the World Cup and the Champions Trophy, Team India is going to be playing only 6 ODIs. 3 against South Africa in December, that's already done. This is the 3 ODI series that's going to happen, and that's the end of it till the Champions Trophy in Feb. So given that, do you think probably ODIs in general मतलब शायद मतलब थोड़ा कम होने वाला है going forward?
I think it will eventually pigeonholed into something कि भाई जब जरूरत है तभी खेलो. But this, of course, I think all of us have pointed out in the past कि it feels very absurd to play so many T20s leading up to the Champions Trophy. So I think the ship is still not sailed. I trust India का कैलेंडर देखो तो बहुत गैप्स हैं. तो आई एम श्योर वो गैप्स ना स्पॉन्सर्स को अच्छा लगने वाले, ना बीसीसीआई को अच्छा लगेगा. तो कोई ना कोई सीरीज को कॉल चला जाएगा कि मालिक फ्री है तो आजा, फिर एक हफ्ते में 3 गेम खेल लेते हैं, सॉर्ट हो जाएगा. So eventually I'm just hoping that the administrators also look at it in the way that they need the format to sell it also. Again, we've discussed this in the past, how this is, you bring them via T20, sell them ODI cricket by teasing them Test cricket. So that is always a good package. And I'm hoping that India play a few more ODIs, because if they go by just this, then I'm not sure how will they gauge, and which is why all these experiments are even more important to see how they go about it. And just on the promotion bit, I thought they missed the trick by not promoting Shivam. क्योंकि Shivam is in your team to counter spin, and you knew there will be a lot of spin on offer. सुंदर के साथ आप उतना गेन नहीं करते जितना शिवम के साथ गेन करते. Eventually, Shivam was left to do things at the back end, and I'm very happy that at least he got those 2 sixes and 1 boundary. नहीं तो as Som said, ये वो गेम हार जाते ना तो ज्यादा गाली पड़ती, जैसे जिम्बाब्वे वाली गेम में पड़ी थी कि एक ही गेम के बाद ये तुम्हारे वर्ल्ड चैंपियन ये फाइनलिस्ट खेले थे, वो सब चढ़ जाते. But let's see. I'm hoping a few ODIs will be arranged in the near time.
Sure, I mean, Nikhil bhai is happy with Shivam Dubey, but
And
speaking of being happy, sorry,
I-
India scored a goal.
Abhishek-
I'll also sort of slowly plug that in, but yeah, Nikhil bhai.
मैं बोलता हूँ, अभी तक तो चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी का भी एग्जैक्ट कंफर्मेशन नहीं है, तो रुक जाते हैं कि क्या है, किधर है, कैसा है, तो तब तक फिर और शेड्यूल हो जाएगा अच्छे से.
No,
Fair
I mean,
enough.
coming to what Nikhil said, now this is where I feel cricket organization has become very boring and very, one-dimensional. Now, you know that there is a Champions Trophy in 2025. That means you have a format to sell. You believe in that format. That is the reason you're still having Champions Trophy. Now, Akshay, you pointed out that there are no ODIs scheduled. Then why were they playing 320s against a team like Sri Lanka last week? I mean, they could have easily converted this an ODI series into something much more watchable by including not England are playing their home season, but maybe including Australia or South Africa and making it into a tri series. I understand not having a tri series in India because probably neutrals won't go out and watch the South Africa versus Sri Lanka or Australia versus Sri Lanka game. But imagine in Sri Lanka, all the games would be sold out because home team would be playing. If not, India would be playing, and it would be so much more watchable. And game like yesterday will have a lot more weightage because if you have a tie, you potentially can lose out of making it to the final and winning about trophy. A trophy in a tri series will count for a lot more than a trophy of a Paytm series like you've said in a bilateral. So this is where I think I don't know. I mean, to be honest, what I feel is where I've lost ODI cricket is because that this sense of not even experimenting, not even trying to sell the format in itself in a best possible manner is becoming boring. I mean, there is no good reason to watch this series because let's be very honest, on a fair day, if India play to their potential, go with the kill, it will be very difficult for Sri Lanka to beat India. So it's not a apples to apples series anyway. They could have made it a little more tricky by including a third team in a week where they played T20s pointlessly. There is no reason for playing so many T20s right now.
Completely agree with you there. I'm just trying to think, when was the last time India featured in a tri-series? My mind goes back to 2013 when India, Zimbabwe, and was it West Indies was the third team or Sri Lanka was the third team? Like they played a tri-series in 2013. I remember that. Uske baad se to, I don't even remember 3 test-playing nations playing a tri-series.
Yeah.
But of course, yeah, there is an update on that. The Champions Trophy se pehle, Pakistan, South Africa, and New Zealand, they are going to be taking part in a tri-series in Pakistan in preparation to the Champions Trophy. So that'll be fun to watch. I completely agree with Somesh. Ek to trophy, of course, it counts for a lot more. And on top of that, for us as viewers, there's a lot more relevance. Kuch to chal raha hai, kuch to matlab dekhne mein, there's something new to it. Instead of just watching the same old bilaterals again and again. But yeah, anyways, coming back.
और फाइनल का प्रेशर फेस करने मिलता है यार. अभी bilaterals में usually India have end up winning the series even before the final game has to be played. तो वो pressure situation में players आते ही नहीं है. You don't even realize कि वो कौन player है जो एकदम freedom से खेलते हैं या who don't even feel any nerves in a big game. You don't even realize it.
That's what I mean. Instead of dead rubbers having to play a final, irrespective of how many teams are not, that wo alag hi pressure hota hai, and just playing that 100%, that experience will definitely count for a lot more. 100%. I mean, food for thought that for Team India and of course BCCI as well in terms of planning their FTP going forward. But coming back to the game, though, Sri Lanka, of course, winning the toss and opting to bat first, like the first ODI. Couple of changes for them. Banindo Hasaranga, unfortunately, missing out because of a hamstring injury that he picked up in the first ODI. Jeffrey Van Der Sey comes in. Nikhil bhai, that's sort of going to be a big blow to them because Hasaranga actually looked in decent nick in that first ODI there with the ball.
And not to forget his contribution with the bat when they were in trouble. It was his partnership that really gave them some kind of momentum that, okay, let's now get to a respectable score. And for a reason, I felt case ever since the LPL, Manindo is also bowling a bit slow, which is I don't have the right phrase, because when Akshay Patel bowled at 84, I was like, oh my God, man, will I be able to survive this? Will this survive the entire 10 over mark? Because that is the pace at which you are getting a lot of turn, you are getting a lot of purchase. So and consistency is also something that we have at times missed from Vanindu, that against bigger sides he hasn't been as consistent. So I think he was finally starting to get his rhythm. Now Vandese has to probably step up multifold times that he can be that challenge with Velalage, because Velalage was the guy who was introduced in the power play, and that held Vanindu because then there is pressure. So today that will be a test for Sri Lanka, that how do you find a way to bowl a lot of dots. I think India played over 150 dots almost in the first ODI. They'll definitely want to reduce that. Boundaries may not happen depending on the deck, but bowling a lot of dot balls will be very important for Sri Lanka to build that pressure.
Fair enough. Of course, the other change being that Mohammed Siraj, after making his debut in the first ODI, misses out. Coming to Mendes comes in. In some sense, they've decided to bolster their batting a bit there. But Somesh, again, in terms of what he saw in the first ODI and how the surface played, do you agree with that change? They're practically playing with just two pace options essentially, and now a slightly longer batting lineup there. What do you make of that for Sri Lanka?
See, I think fair enough. It's the same ground. It won't be the same pitch, but I mean, we've seen in the T20s as well कि fresh pitch वो बोलने का ही होता है. So it's going to slow down, and they know spinners are going to trouble India a lot more. I mean, any team who play India, they know कि भाई at this point of time with those fiery net bowlers and throwers in the Indian team, pace is not going to worry them. And we saw it in the last game. Rohit was literally killed the game in the first 10 overs. Not for the first time, he made the surface look different from what the other 21 were feeling. So I think they've just taken a lesson out of it, and they're like, we'll feed them more spin and maybe both our batting lineup so that they can maybe score 240, because 240 might actually end up being a winning total.
Interesting. Meanwhile, India, of course, making no changes to their 11. Probably they don't want to stick to the options and give them a slightly longer rope there. Somesh, in terms of Washi now, we will have to talk about it because, to be honest, for me, Washington Sundar just being a part of the squad itself was a bit of a surprise. Like, yeah, they probably could have looked past him. They've got enough other options. And I was also excited about, the prospect of someone like Riyan Parag featuring in this 11, youngster, gun fielder, can bowl, can bat. He's one of those fiery characters that you'd like to have in your 11. But they've stuck to Washi. They're probably a bit of experience and all of that playing a role. But क्या लग रहा है so far, because bowling also he was the most expensive bowler in the last game, despite bowling a lot to left-handers, bat के साथ भी he चली नहीं कुछ खास. क्या लग रहा है वहाँ पे?
I think in the longer run, both him and Akshay are fighting for one spot, and Akshay is like miles ahead in that spot. So what they just want to do is give Washington Sundar a decent run, so as to, if there is a situation where India are playing a left-handed heavy batting lineup, they can swap Washington for Akshay, because they already have Kuldeep, and Kuldeep and Akshay are going to turn the ball. No, not in the same direction. Him and Sundar are going to turn the ball in the same direction, but Kuldeep is a lock. So basically, if they want to choose between two of the spin bowling all-rounders, they can choose without a clear bias, so to speak. But right now, like I said, Akshay is like miles ahead. If there come a scenario, like if you go back to the current 50-over World Cup, there was a game when India actually played 3 spinners, if I'm not mistaken. They included Akshay in the mix too, along with Jadeja and Kuldeep. That was against Australia. They couldn't do it later on because of Hardik getting injured and the balance getting a little skewed. But having said that, looking at the two 50-over tournaments, I don't see India actually playing 3 spinners in the 11. This is where, again, I come back to the point and I feel that Akshay and Sundar are pretty much fighting for that one spot.
Interesting that. Again, Nikhil, by same question to you in terms of Washington Sundar and how he sort of, fits in this 11. Because, again, like Somesh mentioned, he's probably vying for the same spot as Akshar Patel going forward. He's also got someone like Riyan Parag who does pretty much what he does as well, barring the fact that he's a left-handed batter and this guy's a right-handed batter. So how do you look at Washington Sundar, and do you think he's sort of the missing piece in this puzzle?
Yeah, see, to be very honest, I thought of Sundar as a very good option to start with the new ball and then try and take a lot of wickets in the middle overs. Now, unfortunately, that hasn't happened. Something that I'm looking forward to today, that now India know what happened in the last game. And India had pace, I felt, for too long. It's not needed that template wise jao ke 4 over pacers ko do. So I feel that's where Sundar can edge out even Akshay, because Akshay does that in the T20 format, not so much in the ODI format. So for me, that is where Sundar can get a tick there. But to me, Sundar's biggest contribution still should come batting versus spin, because that's where Akshay is so far ahead And Rian also, even on paper, already we are convinced with Rian ke spin ke khilaf to there should not be a problem. So that's where I feel Sundar has two things to catch up on. One is taking wickets, as you also mentioned. Last game also he gave out, I think 31 of 34 balls that he bowled to left-handers. That is too many, in my opinion, on that deck for the kind of bowler that he is. So I said this in the review as well. He didn't look as threatening as you want him to be. That's the problem that we had with Jadeja also at times. Okay, you can bowl to contain, but on decks like these, you can't bowl to contain. You have to look to take wickets also. So wickets are a paramount for me for Sundar. And with the bat, I think Aksar and Sundar also compete in the same way. Okay, against pace, the game is a bit an area to work on. So that's where I feel Sundar can possibly catch up with Aksar. Ke again, sorry to say, but he can be the Jadeja to Aksar again. कि अगर पेस अच्छा खेल रहा है तो maybe you can go to Sundar, and अगर spin अच्छा खेलना है तो maybe you can go to Aksar. But at this point of time, Aksar has a lot of credit in the bank, but that also only for some time. So I think this is a very crucial phase for Sundar, and I hope he's just played in the right spot. I personally am not quite sure what is the right entry point for him, but at this point of time, I feel he is better off at the back end as compared to someone like a Shivam getting game time. That is in this particular case. But again, it will probably depend on combination as well. Because you could have also promoted Aksar. And that is something Dravid did a lot. Whenever under pressure against spin, India were happy to promote Aksar. So maybe that's also a line of thought that they have.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because more than anything, it's Washi's batting that's been the biggest disappointment, so to say. Because 4 साल हो चुके हैं Gaba को, and you just thought after that knock there, कि boss, this is probably his watershed moment. इसके बाद तो this guy will probably become, sort of a successor to Ashwin, both with the bat and ball, can become that utility cricketer across formats. Hasn't really turned out to be the case, and of course injuries have also played their part. So yeah, let's hope for his case, at least for his sake, at least rather, that things do come good for him. One more one more player that we have to talk about, of course, is Mohammed Siraj. काफी cricket खेल रहा है. Even before the series began, during one of our MNL episodes, we spoke about how शायद यहाँ पे workload management किया जा सकता है. यहाँ पे हर्षित राणा को दिया जा सकता है एक मौका, because he did not get a cap in Zimbabwe. Probably this is the right place also for him to make his debut. Not the strongest of oppositions. He can be groomed into the side slowly. Somesh, again, workload management should be a thing for Siraj as well, right? I know Bumrah के साथ तो ये अच्छी तरीके से हो रहा है, but what about Siraj?
I mean, it's okay because it's not like he played the Zimbabwe series anyway. So that was a good, decent break. 6 games here and again, potentially a very big break. So I'm fine with that. But yeah, I mean, as far as experiment goes, if India would have won the last game and they would have won this game, if they are to go on and win this game, probably would have seen experiments in the third ODI. Because I think we have been speaking about this for a while. This is the third successive management where we have become keen cricket observers. And it's the same story because they, whatever the series might be, they want to nail or get the series in the back first before getting overtly aggressive in terms of experimentation. But yeah, I mean, chances for folks will come. But I don't think workload management is should be a consideration at this point of time, because since the World Cup, his workload is severely. Even in the World Cup, he didn't play the Caribbean leg, so he's pretty much well rested.
Fair enough. Nikhil, I agree with this. How do you look at it in terms of Siraj and how many games he's played for India?
Yeah, a bit of both, as Som said. I don't think workload is an issue. My only bit is I, for some reason, expect a lot out of Siraj. I just feel these are the times when you need to use Siraj. If he's playing, I want him to be used like Bumrah. Give him that responsibility that you are my wicket taker. I need wickets from you, and that is something India missed in the last game as well. And again, even in the T20, he had figures of 3 overs for 11 runs. You look at those figures and you feel, हाँ ठीक है, fair. But the point is, you do not want that economy. You want wickets from Siraj. So if that is the purpose that he's playing, then I'm fine with it. But if that isn't the purpose, then I would have wanted to see Harshit Rana, because then you are building more options. Okay, Arzeeb also looked okay. Siraj also has looked okay. At this point of time in the ODI team, it's only Bumrah who's a lock. I know Siraj is a lock in many purposes, but going back to that dreaded day, you still did not trust him on 19th November because you felt he will leak runs. So I don't think it's a good space to be for any senior bowler. And he is a senior now. So to me, his role is very, very important. Workload can be managed. Role pehle fix kar lo. What is it that we expect from him? Because Shivam Dube did what I expected Siraj to do. He squared up Kusal Mendes and got a wicket like that. And that is something I expect Siraj should be doing a lot more of this. Give me those 2 wickets early. And just that one bit, good to see Siraj on the other end of seeing a bad shot at times. Just wanted to get it out there.
Siraj probably now understands what Ashwin might have gone
How it
through.
feels.
Exactly. So he'll probably be a bit more careful going forward. So 100% there. Let's take this question before we talk about what we are looking forward to in this second ODI. So Vasant, of course, talking about Abhishek Sharma and how he feels Abhishek could come in. And of course, he knows that it is too soon, but he's shown a lot of glimpse. And of course, there's his mentor, and he's also captained India in the Under-19 World Cup. So, how do you look at this? Because, of course, Abhishek Sharma has a potential. All of us have rated very highly. We all would love to see a lot more of him in the Indian colours. So, Somesh, let's start with you on that as well. Like, do you see Abhishek Sharma ever being a part of a full-strength India 11 in the near future?
No, absolutely, for sure. Because, see, again, if you put names to the 11 where you feel certain players whom you cannot move on from, at this point of time, I mean, I won't go till 2027. At least if you look at Champions Trophy or a little after that, Rohit seems like a lock based on how he's batting. Virat will always be a lock as long as he's playing ODI, as long as he wants to play ODIs. It can be till 2041 as well. I think KL, every time whatever is asked for him, he delivers more often than not, at least in ODIs. I'm strictly talking about ODIs right now. So for me, KL is a lock in ODIs. There goes your 3 spots. Then Hardik eventually has to come back. Now, 4 of the 6 spots are gone because at number 7 you would want an all-rounder. Now, 2 ही जगह बनती हैं, एक रोहित का partner और एक श्रेयस अय्यर. Again, Shreyas Iyer, I mean, I don't want to single him out, but at this point of time, because of the one-dimensional nature of his cricketing, because he's predominantly a batter, and usme we have doubts about him on pacey wickets and against high pace. So that still is a question mark for me. And I mean, I might get a lot of flack for this, but Gill is a question mark for me in all formats. I mean, or just the other day I was saying that I'm okay with India not trusting him in T20s. Trusting him is enough. It's fair also, but there has to be some point where we have to expect a lot more consistency from him, because again, he's also a one-dimensional player. When you have options like Abhishek Sharma waiting in the wings, and even Yashasvi Jaiswal, I mean, let's not forget Yashasvi Jaiswal is still to be given a run in ODIs, and he has all the skills to come good, because if you think about it, ODIs is a lot more simpler format to nail than tests and T20s. So that is where I still feel there is a potential. But if Gill keeps scoring those runs, then you won't necessarily want to question him for not having a secondary skill. But in the longer run, yeah, definitely. And of course, Rohit's time is closer to the end than to the beginning. So once he hangs up his boots, then both Ruturaj and Abhishek Sharma and Jaiswal, all 3 of them will come into the foray, and whoever is performing at that point of time will get a look in.
Just on that one question though, do you think, Somesh, it is also a reason why he was given the ball? That India wants him to bowl so that it becomes an undroppable case?
I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, they've realized that there are not so many one-dimensional players that you can carry, because otherwise what you are left with is experimenting in a lot more specialized roles. फिर तुमको finisher में experiment करना पड़ता है. It's not easy, right? I mean, being an opener in white ball cricket is a privilege. And as an opener, if you're already, and being Rohit's partner is a further privilege, because तुमको पता है कि अगला मारेगा. तुमको तो सेट हो गया, तुम्हारा गेम ही ये है कि तुम तो 50 ओवर खेलो, कोई प्रेशर नहीं है तुम्हारे ऊपर, तो कितने प्रिविलेज चाहिए? फिर कम से कम डेवलप योर सेकेंडरी स्किल.
Fair point. And to be honest, it's a problem of plenty clearly for India. The names mentioned, Ruturaj Gaikwad, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Abhishek Sharma, Shubman Gill. So, jin do ko bhi lenge, the other 2 will feel sort of, hard done by in terms of missing out on a spot. That's how talented the pool is right now for India. So, yeah, I mean, definitely a happier problem to have for them, for Gambhir especially. So, I don't think he'll be complaining about it. So, that's that in terms of the names we can think of when it comes to India's top order there. But coming back to the second ODI, guys, what are you looking forward to? Somesh, we saw a bunch of experiments that India tried out in the first ODI. Do you think they'll continue with it, or they'll be like, boss, ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, अभी चुपचाप मेरे को एक win चाहिए बस?
यार मुझे तो लगता है और ज़्यादा experiment करना चाहिए. I was not happy that Gill was taken off after 1 bad over, because then तुम confidence shatter कर रहे हो. भाई अगर तुम trust दिखा रहे हो तो give him at least 1 more over. Let the batters target him. And I think बीच में wicket भी गिरा था. तो there was all the more reason for them to just continue with Gill. And I think Shivam Dube bowling 4 overs is a little too few, in my opinion. There's absolutely no need for Kuldeep to be bowling so many overs. I mean, Sri Lankan batters were just but like headless chickens against Kuldeep. I was actually feeling pity at one point of time कि भाई इनको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है कुलदीप को कैसे खेलना है. तो जब तुमको पता है he is a match winner in himself, so maybe he doesn't need to bowl so many overs, and you can use those overs to experiment. But yeah, I mean, after the result of last game, I feel we won't see a lot of experiments today.
Fair enough. And Nikhil bhai, for Sri Lanka as well, they will take great heart from the fact that in both innings, they had to fight their way back and claw their way back. And first, while batting, it was 101 for 5. It almost seemed like, boss, ye to 150 ke kam mein hi all out ho jayenge. From there, they somehow managed to stretch it up till 230. And even in the second innings, the way they actually were able to trigger a collapse. So what do you think can they look at? Like, Pathum Nissanka, of course, is one of their sort of key batters. But who else are you looking forward to there?
Yeah, I think one thing they will be very happy is they did not collapse like they did in the T20s. So had they been that, they would have been all out for 150. To me, Hasaranga bowling is also a good bonus, but I'm looking forward to a lot more runs from him. I think he's been one of the bright spots for Sri Lanka in terms of batting potential, and he has the game. And we have Siraj taking very first ball wicket. इससे ज़्यादा जल्दी wicket तो ले ही नहीं सकता. So that
is it Abhishek Sharma?
No, it is Pathum Nissanka.
So Pathum Nissanka के last 10 गेम में ऐसे हो रहा है कि single digit followed by 50 और 100. Single digit 50 100 single digit. तो पिछला गेम में 50 आज single digit भी क्या मतलब क्या बोलेंगे इसको?
Yeah, so I think now even more important for Hasaranga to come good, and I think this is a good game for Kamindu Mendis also to show off his skills. He's a very handy bowler, very different bowler. And if he can combine with Velayalage and Hasaranga, that becomes a very good engine room. So there is Sadira who is yet to come good. So that's also a bit with these three games. They are very random. And they are placed at a time where India finished Champions Trophy को look forward करेगा. There is nothing to look forward to for Sri Lanka. So they'll just hope that these guys can get enough game time and they can come good.
Well, let's hope they come good for sure. Both India and Sri Lanka, that is. And that's that from the preview of the second ODI. Of course, we will be back at the end of the game to review the game and talk about kya dekha humne aur kya nahi dekha, importantly, given how many experiments we are expecting Team India to come up with. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't already. And please make sure you subscribe to us if you haven't already. We are inching towards 93K and hopefully 100K soon enough as well. Thank you so much, guys. And see you guys very soon.
See you.